Hey guys, it's great to be back with you again, and I'm not just saying that. I had an incident that happened yesterday while I was climbing that really made me take stock of my life. And I want to share that with you today because even though I know a lot of you who are subscribed to this channel may not be climbers or necessarily particularly interested in climbing, I was out climbing yesterday shooting a film that I'm working on, which is part of my documentary project that I have going on, and everywhere I go with me I'm documenting everything and trying to make stories. And I'm always bringing my camera, and so that means when I go into the mountains I have a camera with me. I was out with my climbing partner and good friend of a long time, Martin, who also has type 1, and we're shooting and climbing and making a video about repeating an old route that his dad, who is now in his 80s, his dad put this route up in the 1970s when he was a warden for Parks Canada. I was on edge a little bit, because you're going into this situation where the climbing is a little bit sketchy. The rock is loose and handholds break off, and there's just not a lot of stuff to clip into. And at one point, some rocks started falling, and I saw the rocks starting to come down, and I thought, I wonder if there are any bigger rocks above that are going to come down. And just as I had that thought, I saw a rock that was about the size of my fist come bouncing down this gully, which was off to my right, and I saw the rock kind of ricochet off out of that gully and come straight towards me. And fortunately, I was wearing my helmet. This was the net impact on my helmet from one rock that just broadsided me right on the top side, would have been the top left side of my head. And it happened really, really fast. It happened so fast I didn't even have time to be afraid. I just saw that rock come pinging towards me. I heard it, and I just ducked under the cliff. And the idea when rockfall happens, you want to get as close to the cliff as possible and stay underneath the profile of your helmet so that you have little softer parts of your body exposed to the falling rock. And it happened so fast that I didn't really have time to be afraid in anticipation. It was just one of those things where you have to react. And it came from a fairly unlikely position, just smashed me right on top of the head. And it didn't hurt. The helmet, thankfully, did its job perfectly. It occurred to me that if I hadn't been wearing my helmet, this was probably the closest I've come to dying while climbing, ever. And I didn't have time to be afraid of it. It wasn't like a long, protracted, overnight, stuck on a mountain type of thing where it's contemplating my own mortality. We'll be able to, make an early start and get back down the mountain. Let's hope that lightning stays away. It was just like, 1 second everything is cool and you're doing this exciting historical climbing route with one of your best friends, and then the next literally instant you get pounded on the head with a rock that could snuff you out like that. Honestly, I wanted to kind of get this out and share it a little bit because for my own thought process as much as anything, it impacted me, and I don't want to let it go. I want to get it out while it's still fresh because this is part of what I do. That a piece of gear we have?
One piece of gear on our way.
Oh, very comforting.
Not ideal, but better than nothing.
When we get comfortable doing things, pretty much anything, whether it's climbing, driving, biking, anything active, we tend to cut corners because we're comfortable doing it. When you first start climbing, it's like, yeah, definitely wear a helmet. And then it's like, I've been doing this for a while. I know what's up. I don't need to wear a helmet. It's not that big of a deal. And I've been climbing for about a little more than 10 years. I always wear a helmet because I've seen rock fall in the past. There's a lot of people getting into climbing these days, people coming from gyms, which are very safe environments. It can be hard for people to understand that the risk is very different when you step out of a gym and you go into the mountains, you go in on the real rock. And even places where you think the rock is good, you never know who could be kicking rocks off the top, who could be walking above you, what could come off. Taking precautions where you can allows you to fight another day and allows you to live. And the size of the rock was not necessarily the issue. It came from about 60 meters above me, which is about 100 feet and change, and it had some mustard on it. It was going fast. Long story short is, risks are real. When we encounter that stuff, it's important to appreciate the life that we have and to be thankful for it before bad stuff happens. And I think that that's why we wear helmets. That's why we take precautions. That's why we do stuff. It's because we're thankful for what we have before it gets taken away or before it gets put in jeopardy. And that's the most important thing, I think, to come out of this. Nobody deserves an audience. Nobody deserves to be heard. Nobody deserves to be watched. And the fact that there are those of you guys that choose to spend your time engaging with me, interacting, and kind of coming along on this journey as I'm telling stories of people around me and life in the mountains and life not in the mountains, but wishing that I was in the mountains, that means a great deal to me. I would say if one of your comments that you have is that you're stupid for climbing and you shouldn't do it, I think that's an oversimplification. I don't think it's that simple. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't choose to pursue freedom and adventure in the mountains, and I do so with a great deal of risk management in the forefront of my mind. And having spent time as a professional guide where I've brought many hundreds of people into the mountains and canyons and a variety of terrain, where their life is in my hands as well as my own. Like, this is not something that I do lightly or flippantly, and the risks are absolutely real, but the joy of the experience comes in managing risks together. And there are some times when you shave it a little closer than others, and frankly there are times when you can do everything right and you can still pay the ultimate price. That's also true, but I don't think that that's any different than getting into a car and driving to work or driving across the country or getting on a plane, which I'm going to do tomorrow to fly back home to my family. There are risks that we have to take. There are risks that we don't have to take, but we choose to take because there's enough value in what we're doing that we feel vindicated in making the choice. It's a good trade-off, so we do it and we go for it. I think that process is very, very healthy. It's very necessary. We don't acknowledge the risk in our life, and I think one of the benefits of going into the mountains and doing stuff that people look at as being like, that's risky, why would you do that? Well, risk is everywhere around us, but this is one situation, one environment where we really have the opportunity to acknowledge and deliberately interact with the management of that risk, whereas in other areas of our life, we're blind to the risk that's there and we just make choices based on what we want to do. At least this isn't a camera review, right? I'm not reviewing cameras, I'm not pixel peeping. This is just a little bit of honest reflection and saying that I'm thankful for you guys being here, except for the people who are going to be idiots and hate on me for being a climber. I'm not thankful for you guys. I would prefer if you just went away. But everybody else, I'm very thankful for you, and I'm looking forward to putting out more stuff very soon. I'm Steve Reichert, filmmaker, photographer, and professional risk manager on many fronts. And I look forward to seeing you guys in upcoming episodes of the Adventure Photo Show right here.
And on the top part, as you say, like you come up and then you see to the right the exit.